Hi guys, welcome to English Digest. I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Tom.
It's day 2 of our literature unit, and we're focusing on the book, The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. I was looking up, every time we get these literature units, I always check to see if there's been a movie that's been made from that particular book. I didn't see one for this, although it would be, I think, a pretty popular movie.
I believe there was a movie made from this novel.
Oh, I missed that entirely.
I think the novel came out in 2006,
It did.
and then the movie came out in 2008, about 2 years later. But yeah, in any case, if you're interested in this story, you've got a choice. You can see the movie or you can read the book. Of course, we recommend that you read the book because it will help you follow along and look up new words and stuff like that, which is harder to do when you're watching a movie.
But there's so many more details in a book than a film.
True,
yeah, let's go ahead and read day 2, guys. It's about the plot. It continues on, and then day 3, we'll talk about the author and some of the themes of this particular novel. One day, Bruno is surprised to see Schmel in his own home, cleaning the family's drinking glasses. Bruno gives his friend a piece of chicken. Lieutenant Kotler, a cruel soldier under his father's authority, catches them and demands to know if Bruno is friendly with Schmel. Terrified, Bruno denies their acquaintance. He feels intense shame for betraying his friend, and later, Schmel's face is covered in bruises from Kotler's beating. Finally, Bruno's mother convinces his father to let them move back to Berlin. Not long before they plan to leave, Bruno gets head lice and has to shave his head, making him appear like the prisoners. This gives Schmel and Bruno an idea. They make a plan to spend time on the same side of the fence. Schmel brings Bruno a prison uniform to wear, and Bruno crawls under the fence. Bruno had imagined it would be pleasant, but he only sees distressed prisoners and cruel armed guards. He intends to leave, but soldiers force Schmel, Bruno, and other prisoners on a march toward a building. Once they're inside, the doors close, and it goes dark. The two best friends hold each other's hands. It's implied that they die in a gas chamber because Bruno is never heard from again. Bruno's clothes are found outside the fence, and eventually, his father figures out what must have happened. The family is devastated, and the father, the commandant, soon loses the will to live. The novel ends with an ironic and veiled statement. Of course, all this happened a long time ago, and nothing like that could ever happen again. Not in this day and age.
Okay, let's continue to summarize our featured novel for the month of October, The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. Again, it's a tale or a fable of friendship in tragic times during World War II and during the Holocaust. I should mention that this book is kind of controversial because some people think it's not really accurate historically and that Germans wouldn't have been that nice, but we'll leave that up to you to decide whether you think it's legitimate or not. But let's continue to summarize the novel. I think where we left off, we've got Bruno and Schmel on the same side of the fence. Remember, Bruno is the German boy from Berlin, and he's kind of naive about these things. And so he goes under the fence and joins his friend Schmel on their side of the fence, where the prisoners are, and supposedly he's going to find out exactly what's going on over there. So yeah, let's continue here. One day, Bruno is surprised to see Schmel in his own home, which means in Bruno's home, cleaning the family's drinking glasses. So yeah, I guess he did not expect that. Schmel is usually a prisoner on the other side of the fence, and now Schmel is actually inside of Bruno's home cleaning their drinking glasses, making sure they're nice and clean so when they drink water, they don't get sick.
That often happened in the prison camps, actually. If there were prisoners they thought that could be useful as servants outside the prison, they would assign them different types of work. And sometimes that was even worse than living in the prison, believe it or not. So yeah, he sees his old buddy in his own home. But he is working as a servant, washing dishes, washing those drinking glasses. Bruno gives his friend a piece of chicken. Remember, Shmuel is quite thin. And Bruno's a good kid. Most kids are. They want to help. So he passes him a piece of chicken. Unfortunately, there's a really evil soldier watching all of this, Lieutenant Kotler, and he's cruel. If you're cruel, you really enjoy hurting other people. It's not that you just hurt them, you enjoy hurting people. So he catches this happening, and even though he's a lower rank than Bruno's dad, because he's under his father's authority, it says, he catches these two boys and he thinks, what's going on? And demands to know if Bruno is friendly with Shmuel. If you demand something, guys, you ask somebody something, but you don't really give them a choice. So you're pressing somebody or kind of forcing somebody to do what you want them to do. You demand something. A demand can be a noun or a verb. Here, of course, it's being used as a verb. So you're asking something of somebody, and it's almost like you don't give them a choice, you know? You don't say, would you please come and babysit for me tonight? You must come and babysit for me. So you don't give them a choice if you demand to know or do something.
Or you could demand to know the truth, for example. Hey, you stayed out late last night. I demand to know where you were.
That sounds like a parent, yeah.
A parent or a wife or something like that. But in any case, yes, we've got this brutal and cruel soldier by the name of Lieutenant Kotler. And he's a lieutenant. Of course, there are different rankings in the Army. In the American Army, there's lieutenant, captain, lieutenant colonel, major, general, etc. Those are all different rankings in the American Army, at least. So this is an officer in the German Army, and he's mad. What are you doing talking to Shmuel? He's a prisoner, so of course he's brutal with them. He's cruel, and he demands to know if Bruno is actually friendly with Shmuel. Okay, are you guys actually friends or something? Well, Bruno, of course, is terrified. He's very scared, so he denies their acquaintance. So yeah, he does not want to admit that. He knows he'll get in big trouble there, so he decides to lie and say, no, I don't know him. I just happen to be giving him a piece of chicken just to be nice, but I actually don't know him. We're not friends at all.
Yeah, terrified, guys, is a stronger intensity than just being afraid or scared, right? If you're terrified, it's extreme fear that you're feeling. So he can see that Lieutenant Kotler's a mean, kind of cruel person, and he doesn't want, that lieutenant to do anything to him. He feels intense shame, though, afterwards for betraying his friend. If you feel something that's intense, and it can be intense emotion, intense pain, intense joy, it just means to a very high degree. So you need to know what the word that follows it really means. Intense joy is good, right? Intense shame is bad. If you're feeling shame, you're really embarrassed for doing something wrong yourself, and you wish you could hide away because you feel awful about what happened. Why does he feel shame? Well, he betrayed his friend. If you betray someone, it just means, let me give an example. If you have a friend, your best friend tells you a secret, and you promise you'll never tell anybody. But then one day, you just got to tell somebody. And you tell somebody, and that person tells everybody. You've just betrayed your friend, but you can also betray your country. How does that happen, Tom, if you betray your country?
Well, you basically change sides like Benedict Arnold did in the Revolutionary War. He was fighting with the Americans, but later he said, I don't like the Americans. I'm going to join the British Army. So yeah, he was a traitor, and he started fighting with the enemy. So yeah, that's what happens when you feel betrayed. You are a traitor here. So, indeed, he's ashamed of that, though. I should not have lied. Now my friend's going to get in trouble. And as a result, Schmel's face is covered in bruises from Kotler's beating. Now, a bruise, of course, is something that you get when you're hit on the skin. I don't really bruise that easily, but my wife does.
Oh, I bruise with anything.
Oh, you do? Yeah, I notice you kind of get those brown spots on your skin if you bump into a door or something like that.
Purple, and then their first purple is blood coming to the skins, coming close to the skin, and then it turns yellow as it improves.
Right, so bruise here is being used as a noun, but of course you could also use it as a verb. And here in the next paragraph it says, finally, Bruno's mother convinces his father to let them move back to Berlin. So yeah, Bruno's mother doesn't really like it there at Auschwitz. Can we go back to Berlin? You know, they've got those wonderful coffee shops there. This place is miserable and it's isolated. There's nothing to do here. They can find somebody else to move out here to Auschwitz. We want to go back to Berlin. So yes, she convinces the father of the family to move back to Berlin, and I guess they're going to actually go back to Berlin.
I didn't think they had a choice, to be honest, but I guess they can. He's a pretty high rank. I just wanted to mention really briefly, you can say Auschwitz or Auschwitz, which is more German. I'm just used to saying Auschwitz. So, yeah, hopefully that will help their family as they go back to Berlin. Unfortunately, we're going to find out they probably waited too long to do this. Remember, Bruno is very naive and doesn't really understand what's going on. We will describe more about the plot, guys, in a few minutes, but first we're going to give some time over to our Chinese teacher.
谢谢美语老师。Hello, my name is Shelby. 我们继续看这两个小男孩的故事。第一段，有一天 Bruno 很惊讶，在自己家里看到 Schmel， 他给了他朋友一块鸡肉。看第三句。Lieutenant Kotler, a cruel soldier, under his father's authority. 科特勒中尉，他父亲手下的一位残忍士兵。这是插入句，当形容词功能来补充修饰。而其中的 under one's authority 表示有谁的同意授权，引申为在谁的手下。例如He was working under the authority of the company president. 他在董事长手下工作。逮到他们，并要求知道 Bruno 是否对 Schmel 友好。下一句 Terrified 吓坏了 Bruno 否认他们认识。形容词放在句首是省略连接词、主词等的分词构句。原来应该是 Because he is terrified。后面 deny 拒绝 one's acquaintance 相识，拒绝某人的相识就表示不认识某人。下一句，他感到羞愧，因为背叛朋友 betray 出卖 betray his friends 出卖朋友，又或者 betray the secret 泄露机密。Schmel 的脸上布满了淤伤 be covered in something 或者 be covered with something 用什么覆盖着。Bruises 伤痕，字尾加了 s 用复数表现被打得很惨。最后呢 Bruno 的母亲说服父亲让他们搬回柏林。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Okay, let's continue to talk about our featured novel for the month of October, The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. Now, where we left off, Bruno got in trouble there, or almost got in trouble, because he gave some chicken to his friend Schmel, who was actually in his house cleaning their drinking glasses. But Lieutenant Kotler caught them and wanted to know if they were friends or something. And Bruno, he kind of betrayed his friend and said, no, I don't know him. But Schmel got a beating anyway. His face was covered in bruises from the beating he received from Lieutenant Cutler. Well, then Bruno's mother had enough of Auschwitz, and she said, hey, let's move back to Berlin. And so not long before they plan to leave to return to Berlin, Bruno gets head lice and has to shave his head, making him appear like the prisoners. Now, lice is a kind of insect, maybe like a small worm or something, that will grow on your skin if you don't clean yourself enough, okay? So this can happen, and this did happen in the concentration camps. It was a big problem. Prisoners had this stuff all the time, and so they had head lice, which can be really itchy and really terrible and stuff like that. So in order to stop it from growing, you need to get rid of your hair. So then you shave your head. So then that's what happened to Bruno. He's now a bald kid with no hair.
Right. Anyone who lives on the streets and doesn't get a chance, to take showers or baths a lot, they'll often get head lice. Animals can get head lice. The problem with lice is they can jump from one body to another, from an animal to a human. We took in somebody at one point. My parents let somebody who was in a bad situation live with our family for about 4 years. We love her. But when she first came to us, she had head lice. And she had to wash with this really smelly stuff to kill the bugs. But back then, they didn't care enough about the people to actually, get rid of the head lice. They would just shave their heads. So what happens is Bruno ends up looking like his friend Schmel because he has no hair and looks like some of the prisoners. This gives those two boys an idea. And it's not a good idea, but they don't know any better. They think, oh, I can go visit you in your prison, although they don't understand what the prison is. And then you can come over here and visit me at my house. Sounds great. So they make a plan to spend time on the same side of the fence together. And Schmel brings Bruno a prison uniform because he needs to have those striped pajamas or striped prisoner uniform to fool the guards, of course, and fool the people inside the prison into thinking he's one of them. Bruno thinks this is great, and he actually crawls under the fence to go inside that prison.
Yeah, that's what happened. It did not happen earlier. This is now what's happening in the story. So now they're on the same side of the fence with all the prisoners. Now, Bruno had imagined it would be pleasant, but he only sees distressed prisoners and cruel armed guards. So Bruno is indeed very naive here. He doesn't understand things. He had imagined that things would be pleasant on the other side of the fence. Hey, I'm going to go over there, wear this prison uniform. I'm going to be there with my friend. We're going to play ball and have a lot of fun. But he only saw distressed prisoners, and then these armed guards were quite cruel. So, yeah, there were no fun and games going on over there on the other side of the fence. If you're distressed, that means you're very bothered by a very difficult situation. You have anxiety, and you're scared of something, you're worried about something, and indeed there is a lot of stress in a prison camp. You never know if someone's going to beat you or not. So, yes, you're distressed, you're sad, you're under pressure, and you're certainly not very happy.
Well, he intends to leave, but soldiers force the boys and other prisoners on a march toward a building before he can get back under the fence and go home.
Indeed. So I guess plans are kind of changing there. He went over there. He spent some time with his friend Schmel, but he said, okay, well, it's been great, but I really need to go back home to my parents, and we're getting ready to return to Berlin. So yes, he intended to leave, but something else happened before he could leave. The soldiers forced them on a march toward a building, and I think I know what the building they are referring to is. What's it called? It wasn't called the crematoria. What was it called? I'm not sure. But
gas chamber?
Gas chamber, that would be a very accurate description there.
And they told them that they were going to have a shower because the gas was actually dispensed on something that looked like a shower head that we have in our bathrooms. but it was gas instead of liquid.
Zyklon B, that fertilizer or whatever, a pesticide that they turned into a gas to kill all those people.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're being marched toward a building, and once they're inside, the doors close and it goes dark. I think that's basically how those things worked. And the two best friends hold each other's hands, and it's implied that they die in a gas chamber. Okay, so yes, they were all gassed to death, and then later on they took the bodies and sent them to the crematorium, and they were burned there. And then the smoke went up in the air, and it had a really foul odor to it. So I think I've read some testimonies from people who were in Auschwitz. The one by Primo Levi, or Levy. I'm not quite sure if I got the name right there, but yeah, his book is definitely something you should check out. But yeah, it's implied. We don't really know for sure, but we probably pretty much know that they died in the gas chamber. Because Bruno is basically never heard from again. If he did not go into the gas chamber, then where did he go?
Well, Bruno's clothes are found outside the fence. And so finding their child's clothing gives the parents a clue of what happened. His father figures out what must have happened. It says here the family is devastated. If a family is devastated, it's probably because they've learned some news that just completely breaks their heart. You can also say that a country was devastated by things like an earthquake or a hurricane or tornado. Destroyed or completely ruined is something that's been devastated. Notice here it's the be verb. The family is devastated. We would never say the family devastates or the family devastated. No, to be devastated means something else outside of your control hurt you. So maybe you've lost your job and you had a close friend pass away and you just feel devastated. You can also say it like that. So the father, the commandant, the big military leader for the German Nazi party, he loses his will to live. He's so sad that his son is gone. He wants to die himself. That's what to lose your will to live just means you want to die.
There's no reason to keep on living here. I guess he's lost his excitement for the Third Reich and for Hitler and all that kind of stuff. I guess if you lose a child, that can be a big change in your life there. So again, they're all devastated at the loss of Bruno. And we don't really know if the father decides to commit suicide at this certain point. But yeah, he did lose the will to live, and he's going to be depressed from then on. And the novel ends with an ironic and veiled statement. So again, if something's ironic, it basically is not what you expect, okay? So for example, when I was in school, one of my teachers kept telling all the students to never start smoking. It's bad for your health. You should not do it. Don't do something like that. It's very foolish. Yet maybe a year after I left high school, I saw that same teacher smoking in a restaurant. So that was ironic. It was something that I did not expect. And I guess he had been smoking for many years, but I guess he just didn't want the students to start. But in any case, yes, we've got an ironic statement at the end of the novel, a statement that we don't expect. And it's also veiled. Veiled here is from the verb to veil something, which means to kind of hide something behind a piece of cloth, usually, like the bride's face is veiled at the wedding until the veil is removed. So yeah, there's a statement here that is kind of a secret. We don't really know what it's trying to tell us.
Yeah, they don't just come right out and say it. It's kind of subtle, I would say. Here's the statement. Of course, all this happened a long time ago, and nothing like that could ever happen again. Ha ha ha. Not in this day and age, which means our author is saying this is exactly what is going to happen again because people don't pay enough attention to history. So watch out. See if you see some of the signs that kind of led up to World War II. We don't want to go down the same path. Let's not go there. But yeah, actually this stuff is still continuing to happen, unfortunately.
Okay, so yeah, take what you will from this novel, and hopefully we have inspired you to check it out or at least research this particular subject. And that brings us to the end of our explanation. We still need to hear from the Chinese teacher.
第二段的第一句 Convince somebody to do something 说服某人做某事，或者用 convince somebody of something， 说服某人某件事情。例如说，他使我相信他是无辜的。He convinced me of his innocence。下一句 ，Not long before they plan to leave， 就在他们打算离开前不久。Not long before 子句，或者是 not long after 子句，表示呢在某件事的前后没多久，当副词子句。Bruno 长了头丝 had lice， lice 是 louse L-O-U-S-E 虱子的复数，也可以引申为卑鄙的家伙。他不得不剃光了他的头发，这让他呢看起来像囚犯一样。接着他们计划要到围篱的另外一边。我们到第3段，第一句 Bruno 原本想象这会是愉快的 had imagined 过去完成式，假设过去表示原先以为，但是他只看到 distressed prisoners and cruel armed guards 忧虑的囚犯和残忍的武装警卫。 distress 使苦恼， distress oneself 某某人感到苦恼，字尾加上 ed 当形容词，烦恼的。Armed 表示佩戴武器，这些呢都让 Bruno 很害怕，打算离开。下一句后面，士兵们强迫他们 on march 到一间的建筑物。March 是行进或游行，惯用语 on the march 或者 on a march。例如说 The enemy are on the march， 敌人出动了。没想到他们一进去门就关上。到第5句It's implied that... imply 暗示，这是一个据报道、据说、据暗示的句型。先用虚主词 it 代替后面的子句，再加 is implied 被暗示，再加真正的主词 that 子句。这意味着他们将死在毒气室里。Gas chamber 是指小房间。Bruno 的衣服在围篱外被发现。第7句，这一家人很难过，父亲呢 loses the will to live。 will 当名词表示意愿， a strong will 强烈的意志力。 to live 不定词放在名词后面当形容词来修饰，说明什么样的意愿。他父亲已经失去生存的意志。下一句，The novel ends with an ironic and veiled statement. End with something 以什么作为结束。 Veil 面纱加上 ed 变形容词，表示模糊的或含蓄的。小说它以讽刺和含蓄的语句作为结束。故事最后面作者说，当然了，这些事是发生在很久以前，而且永远不会再发生了，表达对时代悲剧的哀痛。好，以上是今天的讲解，谢谢收听。
That's it for today, but please remember to join us again next time when we actually talk about the author of The Boy in the Striped Pajamas himself, John Boyne, who is from Dublin, Ireland. Please join us then. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
See ya.